Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Omnifactory. I've been doing a little bit of a shuffling in between episodes here. As you might notice, the blast furnaces that were on this side have been moved over this side, so the one for Draconium that we set up last time. And then I've also added this one for Naquada doped wafers. This is made with the argon fluid Naquada, which we got access to last time through our tier 5 microminer, and also blocks of silicon. This gives us the next tier of bull, which we can cut into wafers. These can then be cut in the laser engraver for the different wafers for the circuits. And this is also the last tier, so it gives us access to system on chips and advanced system on chips. And with these are the cheapest version of making the tier 1 to 5 circuits. So like if you look at the recipe for tier 1, it's literally just a plastic circuit board, 1 system on chip, and 2 fine tin alloy wires. It gives you 8. So I think I think today we're going to invest in these, and we're going to be setting these up so that we passively always have circuits. But first I would like to get the next part of the quest done, which is Enderium. And that's what's going to go in this blast furnace here with the Naquada coils. So the Enderium recipe looks quite involved, but actually it's not too bad. The osmium dust we're getting quite a lot of from microminers. Lead dust, we have already thousands of this. And clathrates we're making already, so that only leaves blue steel. To make blue steel, we need black steel, which we're already making. Steel dust, we're already making that. And same with brass dust, so that only leaves rose gold, which is just gold and copper. So really, it's not too bad. And we're going to set this up next to our signalum. So first up is going to be rose gold. So the first one I've set up here is rose gold. That's giving us copper from this interface. I've separated this off just to make it a separate conduit network. And also drawer network. It just makes things a bit simpler. So the first one is rose gold. Then we have to make blue steel dust. So that's steel, black steel, brass, and rose gold. Alright, and that's blue steel done. I've once again buffered this with just a storage downgrade on here, so we're just buffering 1 stack at a time. And then I think we need 1 more just for the Enderium. Yeah, we have everything else, so we just need to filter this one, and that will be the last one for Enderium. And there's our Enderium. We've actually run out of resonant clathrates because apparently we run out of ender pearls. So I added a few more ender simulation chambers here. I don't think they'll be quite maxed yet. Yeah, they're only advanced. So it's going to take a while for this to fill up again with pulsating polymer clay and then give us more clathrates. But once it does, it'll give us some more Enderium. And then yeah, all we have to do is set this drawer. That's our Enderium blend. And then yeah, we need to add this to the blast furnace. So that would just be 3 item conduits here. We'll filter the input bus for Enderium blend. Actually, this has a fluid input as well. Let's swap this input bus to the other side. And we'll put a fluid interface on top of a fluid input hatch, filtered for primal mana. And then plug this in. And then we'll add our Enderium to the interface. That'll get put in the input bus. And are you working now? Yes, you are. Nice. And then we have to set the level emitter as usual. And the nice thing about this recipe is it gives us Enderium ingots like straight away. We don't have to vacuum freeze or anything like that. It's just a 1-stage process through the blast furnace. It is quite slow. We may have to overclock this, but that's alright. And the first 2 crafts I've done. This should be a quest for us. Yep. In the last episode we set up this vacuum freezer as well for freezing Draconium. And remember, this takes the molten cryothium. I've been keeping an eye on this as this is cooling our reactor as well. And I think we're positive on cryothium, at least with our power usage at the moment. So we had 27,000 thermal matter, and we're now up to 28.2. And it's like been, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours of this running, of the world running, I mean. So I think it's okay. I'll keep an eye on it still, but I think it should be alright with the current rate of Draconium and the power consumption we have right now. And yeah, this blast furnace is now stopped as we're out of Enderium. It might take a while for this to back stuff for the clathrates. That's alright. In the meantime, let's actually work on passive and circuits. So the wafers that come out of this blast furnace that give the Naquada wafers, I've also added straight into our cutting machine processing assembly. And that just goes in this interface with the robot arm on the chest there. And that will instantly cut the bulls into wafers. And at that stage, it then gets put into these laser engravers. These ones still have the glowstone doped wafers. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to switch these out to Naquada doped. It probably is, since you get more per wafer. But for now I'm just splitting them amongst this Netherstar lens, and I have to make a Draconian lens for this one as well. The Draconium is going to be for the advanced system on chips, and the Netherstar is to get the regular system on chips. So let's actually first just start by making the Draconium lens. So that's going to take a block of Draconium and Primal Mana and the autoclave. And annoyingly it has to be EV, and we don't have an EV autoclave yet, so let's get one of those. This machine is basically just going to serve one purpose, and then it's going to get destroyed, so it's a bit of a one and done deal, but that's alright. These EV machines are pretty cheap nowadays anyway. And we can just whack it down at the end of this line, we don't need it for long. So we need Draconium blocks. I'm assuming you can just do this with the ingots. Yeah. And we also need Primal Mana. I don't know if a bucket is enough. I didn't actually pay attention to how much it was. Oh yeah, a bucket is enough. There's our Draconium lens. And we are now finished with this autoclave. Let's put it inside our laser engraver. And this gives us the both system on chips now. So now let's look at what the uses are for these. Oh, actually, these have no other use other than to be cut, isn't it? Well, in that case, there's not really much point in buffering these as wafers. We may as well put cutting machines here. You know what? Yeah, let's get some cutting machines, and we can replace these drawers. Replace these with cutting machines. We have to give them liquid, but we'll deal with that in a second. So this one is advanced system on chips, and this one is the regulars. We'll set auto output again. And then we can replace the drawers on this side. We put the drawers here, and we can just auto output from the cutting machine into these drawers. Although, how are we now going to supply liquid? There, I think that could work. If we just shift this set of machines up one block, we can fit a fluid interface in here, and then we'll be able to put pumps on each one for insert and lubricant. Filter it for this interface, and we'll set these to insert. Or import, I mean. So now these are getting lubricant. They're going to cut the wafers into socks and A-socks. And we can change this one out with a trim, just to keep them all connected. And then set this drawer, and then set the auto outputs, and I think we're done. I mean, it's not the most elegant solution, but it works. So now that we have those, let's see about using them to make the circuits. Regular system on chips can make the tier 1, the tier 2, and the tier 3. And it looks like the tier 3 has to be done at LUV. So let's actually just do it all at LUV. Do we want to start an LUV line for this? Actually, maybe let's not do them all at LUV. Okay, for now let's just do the tier 1 and 2. We'll leave the tier 3 and 4, since these require both LUV and ZPM. So for the refines, we're going to need fine tin alloy wire and plastic boards. We have the plastic boards, obviously. We now have the system on chips. And we have molten tin, so that's easy enough. We just have to make the fine tin alloy wire. So do we have tin alloy already? I can't remember. Oh, we have a lot of tin alloy wire, but is it automated? I think we have the dust automated, just not the ingot, so we'll need a furnace as well. Let me get a few machines together and then we'll start automating this. So since we have the dust, we'll start with a furnace into a wire mill. And then that's going to have to go into an assembling machine, which I think I have already, yep. Into an assembling machine, and then into a drawer, something like that. Yeah, we can put the interface here, and supply tin alloy. So this will give us ingots, we're going to auto output that to the right. This will give us wire, and then we'll need a robot arm to supply exact to this assembling machine. Good, so now we have fine tin alloy wire. Then we need to get our system on chips in here. And also, what was it again? Plastic boards? Yeah. So system on chips and plastic circuit boards. We can use this same interface for that, and then just filter with a limited item filter. And now we're just missing the fluid for the molten tin. So we'll get a fluid interface. Filter this for tin, and now we're making refined circuits. And then we can auto output this to the right hand side. And this is going to give us refined circuits. Let's look at what the tier 2 takes then. So for tier 2, it's going to be epoxy boards instead of plastic, and fine red alloy wire. And this is EV as well, isn't it? Oh, this is IV. It's IV, but we can still put it on this EV line since we have enough CEFs down the bottom there. And we can even just use EV machines and then just use the IV CEF, since that's the only step that requires IV, I believe. And done. I've basically just set up the exact same setup here. I just have an IV assembling machine this time, and we have an extra wire mill since this step gives us straight fine tin alloy wire, whereas here we have to convert ingots into regular wire, and then regular wire into fine wire. And then I have the robot arm set to keep exact for 64. It all ends up in the assembly machine and then auto outputs to this drawer. So now all that's left to do is put a storage bus on this, and a drawer controller. And yeah, that's passive tier 1 and 2 circuits. Alright, and I also decided just to go ahead and set up the tier 3 nano circuits on automation as well. More or less just the exact same setup copied over here, except this time it's a LUV assembling machine. And then we're running IV wire mills. So this gives us aluminium wire, then fine aluminium wire. And then we're getting the fiber reinforced boards and the system on chips from this interface, and also molten tin. That's all going into the assembler, auto output into the drawer with a storage bus. And in fact, it's almost full as well. Just hit 2048. I think I'll just keep it at 2048. I don't really want to upgrade this drawer anymore. Maybe in the future, but yeah, 2000 circuits. If we use more than 2000 circuits at the moment, that would be a bit insane. Probably in the future we will, but while I was setting that up, our Enderium has also started to be cooked in this blast furnace now that we have resonant clathrates. The backlog seems to have fixed itself. And yeah, we're making Enderium blend, which is being sent to the blast furnace. I also figured out why we ran out of ender pearls. It wasn't because I had not enough enderman models. Well, technically it was. But it's because I had this, where is it? This impossible realm data. This is a 1-to-1 with pristines, and I had this set on 5000. I have no idea why I set it to that. But yeah, that's stopped now. So that was eating away at our ender pearls. And I also upgraded the chemical reactor over here, making resonant clathrate to IV. So this is racing through them now, and we've got a massive backlog. And so yeah, with the Enderium now in the blast furnace, let's go down to this circuit quest down here for the second tier 7s. So these crystal processor arrays are an assembly line recipe, and it looks like actually we have everything here. We just don't yet have the recipe for the Draconian plate. So I'll have to add that. That looks like it needs to be IV. I think our processing array is IV. If not, I'll have to upgrade that. And then we also need the Enderium wire. So let's go and code those recipes first of all. So there's 1x Enderium wire and Draconian plating. Let me actually just double check what the compressors are we've got in here. So compressors, they're only EV, okay. Well, for now we'll just put in our temporary one that we're using for microminer plating. And by the way, to fit this in, I moved this compressor that was up here since that is temporary anyway. Eventually we're going to upgrade our processing array. And in fact, after we get these circuits, we probably can. So that goes in this one. And this one will go in the wire mill array. And now let's try and encode these crystal processor array recipes. So we have to put it in our recipe packages, since that's the one the assembly line set up on. HPICs, we are making these, aren't we? HPIC, yeah we are. Why do I only have 32 though? Maybe I forgot to set auto output. Is it here? No, it's on the other side I think. HPIC. Is this it? No. Oh, we're doing this step on demand, that's right, yeah. But we have automated wafers, so yeah, that's alright. And then quantumize, we have the multi-layer boards, we have Enderium wires we just encoded, SMDs we have, and crystal processors. We have those, right? Yeah, we have crystal processors. So we can save this recipe, put this back in our assembly line, and then we should be able to request the second tier 7s. Let's try and request, I don't know, 16 for now. Oh, we're missing some Enderium still. 10? No. 1? Still no. I think it's because I'm doing the wires on 64 at a time. Oh, come on. You're so slow, Enderium. You know what, let's overclock this blast furnace to LUV. I should probably just keep an eye on the power usage we're using as well. I know that we have like over 2 million RF generated, but at some point it's going to be... we're bound to be getting close enough to that. And we don't have any sort of power buffer other than the conduits. I noticed also that we're getting close to superconducting wires, which is the final tier, and this can transport up to 134 million RF a tick per connection. So we definitely want to invest in these, maybe even this episode. To make these though, we have to make our third freezer, and then we have to mix molten Netherstars with Draconian wire, which actually isn't that hard at this point. Oh yeah, that's running better now for the Enderium. Let's wait until we have enough for the tier 7 circuits. And in fact, I think the first thing I'll do is upgrade to LUV compressors all round, which requires the tier 6s actually. And we have already the third tier 6. So this really isn't too bad. I mean, it's going to require some assembly line stuff, so more HSSG. But we can encode this recipe and then upgrade the circuits later. Maybe for now though, I'll just request 8 of these instead of the full 16. And it looks like we can actually even request these. It might take a while because these crafts are quite slow for the LUV components. Or maybe, is it worth waiting for ZPM for the next tier? Because the reason I want to put it off is for these platings. Basically, that every tier of microminer requires the next tier of plating. So it was Signalum, then Iridium, then Enderium, and then Draconium heavy plating. I think this one takes the ZPM machines. So actually, let's look at what the ZPM things require. So these take Nequada coils, Iridium. We have Iridium. They do take polytetrafluoroethylene though, which we are not currently making. How difficult is this? Okay, that chemical reactor chain doesn't seem too bad. I think it's only maybe 4 or 5 I counted max. And we have all the base ingredients that it comes from. But these electric pistons take HSS-E, which is not the same as the LUV ones. I'm not sure how to get HSS-E. HSS-E comes from cobalt, manganese, silicon, HSS-G. And this is another blast furnace recipe, so maybe it's worth setting this up just to get this going as well. And I think there's another HSS-S as well variant. Let me just double check. You know what, yeah, since these are blast furnace recipes, we're going to need them fairly soon. Let's get these going. So I'm going to set up these dusts. And it's nothing we haven't made before. And the S version takes the osmium and iridium, along with the G version. So yeah, this is only going to be a couple of crafters. So let's go and set that up with all of our other dusts. Okay, and the first variant of HSS-E is set up. This is done almost exactly the same as all of these other dusts, just exporting from an interface into a crafter. And I extended the platform along here a little bit for the EV line. What is this, EV? Yeah, EV line. Next up is HSS-S dust. So it's pretty much the exact same except we switch it out with iridium and osmium. And done. So now we have to blast furnace the 2 of these dusts to get their ingot form, and then we can start making the ZPM components with those in the assembly machine. We might not get to that today, but at least they'll be set up in the blast furnace and they'll start running. And actually I should check, what tier of coil do these require? 5400 and 5400? So both of those can be done in HSS-G, so I think we'll be adding on to these. Ah, I forgot to put the downgrade on the storage drawer, so that's eating through all of our HSS-G dust. Oh man. Alright, what are we short on for HSS-G? Looks like we're short chrome and tungsten steel dust. And we're also short vanadium dust as well to make more HSS-G. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot the downgrade on this. Oh well. Too late now. I also noticed that our freezer here is backlogging on draconium ingots, so we're not able to keep up. We kind of have 2 options here. We can either make draconium slower, which isn't ideal, or we can overclock this, but I'm afraid if we overclock this, we're going to run out of cryolithium. I noticed this, the reason I noticed was because this stopped, and I had draconium sitting in here. In fact, there's probably draconium stuck there again. But let's just take a stock of how much thermal and pristine we have, and then overclock that and come back to this later on. So we're currently at, we'll call it 29,000. 29,000 thermal matter, and I'll redo the sign here. Alright, and then let's overclock this freezer. And hopefully this should be able to keep up and clear the backlog of draconium. Yeah, that's significantly faster, but I don't know if it's enough to keep up. Hopefully. Let's actually just upgrade the drawer, just so that it doesn't cause any more issues. I'd rather this drawer filled up with hot ingots than it blocked this freezer from all the other ones working. Anyways, yeah, I set up the blast furnaces for these HSS ingots. Let's see if it got a chance to freeze yet. Oh yeah, we already got our first few HSS-S. Man, that's such a weird ingot to say, HSS-S. And while that freezer backlogs, or clears the backlog, let's address the issue of the HSS-G. So we need vanadium. How is it we get vanadium again? We can get vanadium magnetite from the tier 3 microminer. Alternatively, we can just buy a bunch of it, which I think I did not mean to do that. Which I think I might do. Let's just buy 2 stacks and we'll send this through the ore processing just now. Alright, yeah, and now we're making some more HSS-G. That was actually quick. So that takes care of that, at least for the short term. And we got some HSS-E as well, so I'll set the level emitter. and then I think we're done with these blast furnaces. So now that is done, we kind of have two options here. We can either go for superconducting wire, which will give us the next tier of conduit, and I believe this is also used in recipes as well. Oh, it's the max energy input. We're not going to be making those anytime soon. Fusion reactor. I mean, eventually we'll want a fusion reactor, but the main thing I want from this is the conduits. Alternatively, we could look at getting the tier 6 microminer. The tier 6 miner really doesn't look that much of a step up. We're going to need quite a bit of Enderium for that though, and we don't have a lot of Enderium backlogged, just because of our little Enderman mishap earlier on. Apart from that though, I think we can more or less do all of this. And there's 3 different missions we can send with this. This can get us uranium-238, which I don't think we need. I don't think we need any uranium-238. It can get us way more osmium and iridium, which is always nice. Or it can get us dragon eggs, which I know we're going to need for stem cells for the wetware boards. Although I don't know how soon we need these. Before we decide, let's get the quest for the tier 7 circuit. I think we have enough Enderium for this now. Let's order a couple of those. Hopefully this goes down nice and smooth. For some reason the recipe in this package when I encoded it was wrong, so I just fixed it there. It was missing this quantum eye. So I'm going to have to manually take out all of these items and restart the craft. Okay, this time it looks like it's running okay. I'm not sure why sometimes it misses items when I automatically import from JEI. There's the first one and the quest, I think. Yes, it is. So now that we have the circuits, I think I would like to go ahead and grab the superconducting wire, as I think this might take quite a while. We're going to need a couple of hundred of these at least to upgrade our base, and it's 5 seconds each. I would like to also passive the Netherstars, because this does take 144 millibuckets of Netherstars per wire. So it's not cheap, but passive in Netherstars requires all of the thermal matters, and I was a bit concerned about the thermal since we just ate it up with the vacuum freezer overclock and also a reactor. So I added 6 more thermal simulation chambers here. They're currently at advanced tier. I think, yeah, they just leveled up to advanced tier. So this should be enough. Like, we're effectively doubling our output of thermal pristines. And yeah, with that, let's now passive Netherstars. So for Netherstars, each one takes a different dust, which we already have on passive. This also takes quite a bit of nether quartz. I don't think our nether quartz is going to be able to keep up. But we do have a decent backlog for now. 55,000 for now. We might have to beef that up at a later stage, but I'll probably end up doing that between episodes. So I think we can lay out something like this, and each of these crafters will be for the 4 tips, and then this one will be for crafting Netherstars, and then I'll just import it into the drawer. So I've got a bunch of filters to set, and then I'll show you when it's all set up. Okay, and this has been changed a little bit here, but I got this set up for Netherstar Automation, so we're constantly producing Netherstars now. Again, I don't know if our resource capabilities will allow us to do this, so we may have to scale up a few more systems. But anyway, the way this works is we have 2 interfaces supplying items, gives each of the rods, and then nether quartz, luminescence, and then all of the dusts. And the 4 tips of the Netherstar get made in these 4. All of these connections, by the way, have limited item filters. And then we're making the centerpiece here, and the blocks of luminescence here. And then the Netherstars being crafted here, put into this drawer. And it's got a storage bus on the back there. So yeah, that's going to give us Netherstars. We now have to make them molten. And a couple other things I want to point out while I was setting that up. I did also upgrade this to IV tier. Looks like I forgot to set auto output there. That could have been bad. Yeah, I upgraded this to IV tier as I noticed this was running quite a lot. And we're currently bleeding some cryolithium dust, which obviously is not good. I'm hoping though once those thermal models level up, we'll be okay. Next I want to automate these superconductor wires. And this freezer recipe is IV, so I think we'll do it next to these blast furnaces. We might just leave up till here and start here. So we need another freezer for a start, and we also need draconian wire and molten Netherstar. So we need a fluid extractor, a wire mill, and a freezer. There's our wire mill, the fluid extractor, and the freezer. And just like that, I've also hooked up the interface to supply draconium and Netherstars. We've got a fluid extractor going straight into a fluid input patch back there, and then the wire mill is being extracted out the top into the input bus. And this is giving us Superconductor Wires, which should be a quest. Yep. So I've just got that going into a drawer. We can put a storage bus on there. And make sure to lock this as well. And this is done. Again, I don't know if we can keep this up, especially with the Netherstars and even the Draconium. Mostly the Netherstars though, I'm really concerned about this Cryotheum. I don't really know if we can keep this up. Yeah, we're already down to 6,000. And now that we have our wire, we can also add, well, I have added the recipe for Superconductor, which also takes the Draconic tier, so that is like the tier below it. It takes 1 Draconium per 4 Superconductor. Oh, we're also missing Enderium as well. I guess we skipped Enderium tier as well. Yeah, with that we can now make our superconductor conduits. I think actually, the way I'm doing conduits right now is that I'm sharing a assembler with it, but I think I might make a dedicated processing array just for conduits, since there's so many of them. But yeah, there's no way we can make enough for, like, to upgrade all of our conduits. We probably have 400 or 500 maybe conduits in this base. And there's no way we can make 400 or 500 conduits yet of these superconductors, I mean, so that'll have to wait until probably next episode. But yeah, we're still bleeding Cryotheum dust, so I'm going to have to fix that ASAP. So tune in next time to find this reactor burnt down. Yeah, that's about all I've got time for today, so I'm going to end it here. I'm happy with the progress we've made so far. And next time I think we will definitely look into this tier 6 microminer and perhaps get into ZPM. But anyways guys, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you for some more Omnifactory tomorrow.